I was just curious, what inspired these different love stories?
Well, they sort of came to me separately. So the first one, the couple, I was interviewing an actor for another part on Skype, and he was in Canada, and somehow we got talking about, he was telling me about his friend who was dating his wife from Canada over Skype and so forth. It just sounded like such a kind of interesting, funny idea, because this was way pre-COVID. That segment was finished like months before the pandemic. So at the time, it was a kind of original idea.
Yeah.
But since then, it's become part of the obvious culture.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, that was sort of what started it. And then I added a story.
Great. Well, the stories explore love, commitment, and loyalty between, couples and friends. But I was wondering, why was it important for you to explore those themes?
Well, my creative process is kind of what's drawing my attention, sort of calling me to look into it or express it or somehow make something out of it. And that had just come up in my life, that experience with the actor. And also for the second story was something I've heard about that sounded really intriguing, because I was noticing that, like friends that I knew, the wife was adjusting to retirement pretty well. She had going to garden clubs and book clubs and doing lots of things. And the men who retired were kind of lost without that direct going to the office every day and having a clear, direct purpose for their life. Mm-hmm. And so this is sort of exploring that world of the difference between men and women at retirement age.
Right.
I just hadn't seen much of that on screen, and I felt like I wanted to tell that story.
Yeah. No, I found that very interesting, because she was doing so well and he wasn't. And you think by that point, I don't know, typically you're told that once you get to that point in life, you're just going to be fine and happy.
Yes, but I think it could be man or woman. If you lose the focus or the reason that you've been acclaimed or gotten attention or been valued, if that suddenly isn't there, then what do you find that makes you connect and feel, the value and purpose for your life? And I wanted to bring that story to attention, just bring that whole issue of something that, and the women face it. I think one of the curious things I realized after the movie was over is that my film doesn't have any men heroes.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is completely counterculture in a certain sense, and it's not the format for big successful movies. So I realize I'm sort of going against the stream of things, but these are the stories I want to tell to an audience that I think is sort of underserved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I like it, and I think it's interesting. And I know you mentioned that it is for audiences that do feel underserved, and that there aren't a lot of experiences about older women on screen. So I was curious too, besides this film, have you seen another film that you feel does touch on that in a good way, that you felt connected to?
Well, I think there have been various films that look at a more specific thing, like an older woman developing Alzheimer's and how that affects their lives and things like that. So there definitely are. Mm-hmm. This is singular, but it's I am interested in addressing things that women experience at older parts of their lives.
Yeah. Watching this film, I was curious to see in all three stories more. I wanted to see the next part of it. I wanted to know what happened next with each one of these stories. But I'm curious if you had to just pick one of the stories to keep the camera rolling and find out what happened next in their lives, which story would you pick and why?
Well, curiously, incidentally, um, when I got in touch with Maya Kazan recently, who played the daughter in the
Yeah.
final one, and we're left wondering what she's going to do. She, in fact, is having a baby in November.
Oh, no way. That's great.
I felt like, well, that's the answer. Uh, so, no, I do mean to leave it sort of open to interpretation, whatever you think that person should do. I don't want to tell the audience or dictate. I want the audience to kind of be curious and think about that and say, well, this is what I would have done, or I don't think she should have done that, or whatever, and interact with it from their perspective.
Right, right. And you do have such an amazing cast in this film, so many great talents. Was there anyone you were particularly most excited to work with?
Well, I just grew really care for all of them around that table. They were such a dynamic group of remarkable women that I just was really happy to be with them. And casting is never a direct line. You don't just make a list and get all those people you want.
Mm.
People are working, people are not available, people are, there's lots of different reasons. So the cast that comes together is a little bit of a by chance. And that sort of is fascinating to me too, and how they all came together and worked together. And I did different acting exercises to encourage them to connect, because they're all different people coming from different places, and it was wonderful to work with them. Just for me, just to be in a room with 9 great women, or 10 or whatever it was just a real treat.
Oh yeah, yeah, and yeah, like I said, everyone was really great in the film. Well, I was wondering, so what was your favorite part of working on this project?
Um, well, for me, I think I find the most sort of stimulating part of the process is the writing,
Mhm.
because there you can explore and try things and experiment, and it's not costing you a lot of money to production.
Yeah.
So it can be a very creative, interesting part. And I work with this other writer. I come up with the stories. It's my story, and this is what I want to tell. But she is very good with kind of bringing a levity, bringing some little jokey kind of wit and humor, which I really appreciate. I want it. I just
Mhm.
don't know how to translate that into dialogue. And she does it with me, and we get a lot of laughs and to work together. And then the production, every minute is so expensive that you're kind of always stressed with, oh, did I get this shot? Is that enough? Should I do it again? And it's much more tense. It's a thrilling experience, but it's full of a lot of tension.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and also I'm wondering, is there anything you hope audiences take away from the film?
Well, I hope they'll take away their own impressions and thoughts and think about um, it from their perspective. I'm trying not to preach anything,
Mhm.
and um, that they'll have their own impression of each story. Oh, she shouldn't have done that, or oh, she said, or whatever, or whatever it is that sort of speaks to where they are emotionally, and what stage of life they're in, or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying. I leave it a little bit open so that the audience can make their own interpretation. I don't wrap it up really tightly.
No, you definitely did. I found myself talking to the movie a lot and talking to the characters, even though they weren't talking back. I was just like,
Yeah, great. I like that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you clearly are a talented filmmaker. I am curious, is there a film that inspired you to want to make movies in the first place?
Well, I began as a documentarian, and in the early 70s, I was making really short little uh, art films kind of thing. So I kind of pivoted into making documentaries, and then um, in my in my early 70s, I just had this idea to make a fiction film, Paris Can Wait,
Yeah.
and it just came over me like, I think you get, I call it, um, well, some people call it postmenopausal zest, but I think you get, as an older person, um, you just sort of get to the point where you don't care what people think, it gives you this kind of fierceness that maybe you didn't have when you were younger, and you cared more about what other people think. And I just wrote this script, and what right do I have to write a script on? I've never written a script, and I'm living with these award-winning script writers and stuff. I just sort of got fearless, and I did it, and I got it together. And so these 3 shorts are just kind of me being fearless. I know that it's not going to change my course of my life if it's hugely successful, or if it's a failure. It's not going to change my career path or start my career or end it. I mean, I have a kind of freedom that I didn't have earlier in my life, and that's a great gift and a way forward.
Yeah, no, you do. And it is a great gift. And I'm so glad that you have it. And I'm so glad you made this film for us. And they're wrapping me up, but it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for your interest. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.